additional test servers, pick those out. Think about your migration model and testing models when you're planning your disk space. Make sure the databases have sufficient free space. The databases need some free space for the upgrade because a lot of the system tables are going to get upgraded, some of the index structures may be upgraded, some of the table structures may end up getting upgraded. Assess impact from SQL changes. Note that there are even subtle things going on there like names that are being changed with 15. There are keywords. Double check these things. Include things in your scripts and applications. This can be non-trivial sometimes because you may find that you have a hard time finding all the scripts that are running. If you're in luck, you've got everything in a single directory, in a single place. It's all being run out of a single couple sets of crowns. Most aren't that lucky. Environment variables that are obsolete, get rid of them. Take a look at things like size and device fragment information. One of the things you may end up doing, depending on the type of migration you pick, is defragmenting a lot of your databases. Now, remember here that device fragments are different from segments. A fragment means a contiguously allocated chunk of storage set aside for the database. So where it says record size and device fragment information, you may just simply want to fix all that and change all that when you go from your old server to your new server. Just something to keep in the back of your head. The default character set and sort order. I still see people burned by that one when they're going from one server to the other. Verify system props is large enough that all device fragments, if there are multiple fragments, contain both the log and the data segments. Just for upgrading, I'll tell you, in between those two steps, make sure that you've created a checklist for yourself. I'm a very big fan of checklists. Checklists make it hard to forget something that you're doing. And you're doing your upgrade, frequently you're dealing with a downtime window or batch window. Sometimes you're doing it at 2 in the morning, sometimes on a Sunday. You want the thing to go smoothly. So during your test, one of the things you want to do is build the checklist and test the checklist to make sure that all the steps on the checklist are all the things you need to do in order to get to that successful regression test. Things that need to be on that checklist include set the master database as the default for the system administrator. Make sure that the error and configuration files are in the default locations. This is a feature of the upgrade process. Download everything, directories, devices, running on Windows, registry entries, everything you got sitting out there. Next, BP out your critical system tables, the logins, sys roles, sys user roles, sys login roles, sys databases, sys usages, sys devices. Note that this may be moderately difficult to take advantage of because 15 is going to make changes to some of these system tables. One of the things that it did do for the large data support is to change the way that the device mapped to the usages table. So we're no longer doing a between join to get from point A to point B. Disable mirroring if in fact you're using, I don't know anybody who's still using database mirroring these days. Turn the audit option to off, disable your auditing, save your config file. And scroll forward here. There. So we get to the planning step. Identify all your individual software elements in the environment. This may include a lot of different types of things. This is going to include DLLs, libraries, access, ODBC, operating systems. Identify that everything looks like it's supposed to work together, and then test it. I know it sounds paranoid, but I take documentation as a starting point, not as a finishing point. I always test what the documentation tells me. Sometimes there's a disconnect between what the engineers tell the tech writers and then what they write, and then it gets QA. If you think about it, there's still documentation someplace that says non-clustered indexes are more effective if you have less than 20% of the table that you're going to hit. And we all know that that number is an awful lot less than 20% and sometimes a lot closer to 3%. Take a look at your application components, keep an eye on them, identify which new features we're going to take a look at, choose the upgrade approach. We're going to talk about several upgrade approaches here. In place, TCP, server, and we'll talk about why you might want to use each different type of approach, and then pick your implementation plan. So, modifying software components, this can be easy. It may be that everybody is going through PowerBuilder, everybody's going through .NET, everybody has these front-end Java apps. More often, what ends up happening is that you've got some people using old legacy PowerBuilder applications, some people using new PowerBuilder applications, some people using Java, some with .NET, some with Batch. Identify the individual components, because otherwise at some point one of them is going to burn you. Next, if you have any third-party applications, make sure they're ASE 15 certified. If not, you really have to make fun of your third-party application provider. Yes, there are still some out there that are still going through the certification process. Also, when you identify that they've been certified, this is also a good time to identify whether they're certified for example, larger page sizes, taking advantage of some of the ASE 15 features. Sometimes they identify the ones that they want you to turn on or turn off. I've been looking at a lot of third-party applications over the years, and some of them are really bad, and some of them are adequate. I haven't seen a lot of them that are great. If you are a third-party application, that is not on the call. Please don't take offense at this. I understand most of you are writing these applications for multiple DBMSs, and that Sybase is only one of them. But hey, let's work together and make it better. Then make sure you plan to upgrade all your client libraries and such. Put this on your checklist. Make sure you're in checklist mode. Part of that checklist is going to be to disseminate the client libraries to all the client box systems. You get 10,000 users, you have 10,000 client boxes to deal with there. The page forward is not hugely responsive to me, so yeah. So document your source and target environments, where you're coming from, where you're going to. Of course, if we are doing an in-place upgrade, those are going to be the same place. Most of the time, I'll rephrase that. Many of the upgrades that I've done have been hardware upgrades as well. Those always make me a little more nervous, because I tend to like hardware that's been running for a couple of months more than hardware that's just been installed. So I would recommend installing the hardware as soon as you can get to it. Identify source environment and target environment. We've talked about that. Note that most source environments will now migrate to most target environments. With the advent of ASE 15, you can even dump and load from different ND instructions to others. I remember, it never occurred to me, because I hadn't had the problem in the past, but I remember seeing the documentation on big Indian structures versus little Indian structures, and there are all kinds of really bad plays on words associated with that. What they're talking about with an Indian structure is the direction in which the bits are stored. Is the high-order bit on the left, or is the high-order bit on the right? Okay, looks like I'm still being asked to speak louder. And hopefully this is going to work a little better. I'm moving the mic yet closer to my mouth. Hopefully you're not going to get a buzz from the microphone. Source environments, including ASE. So identify your source environments and targets, and make sure this works in conjunction with one another. Make a point to take a look at the new ASE features. Here's a good link to do that. Make sure you've got the most up-to-date ESD, that is the software level. Used to be called EVF level, now it's an ESD level. I created a big stink on one of the forums recently by asking, hey, who got the most up-to-date ESD that you're not having any problems with? Because we probably all applied EVFs and had an EVF was a problem that made us want to roll back, because the problem that it fixed unfortunately caused another one. Good thing about that is we can do it. Bad thing is we kind of like to know about it ahead of time. And when I put that up on the forum, somebody said, Jeff, you don't know that. The rest of us are in trouble. And I said, this isn't a problem. This is the normal thing to ask, because you don't tend to upgrade the ESDs until you run into a problem or somebody makes you do it. And as a result, I just like to know what the most recent bug-free version is for the specific ASE 15 version I'm installing. This is a place to look, but do ask your friends, do look up on the forums, and don't panic if somebody else is asking that question. Not on your upgrade approach. The upgrade approach is going to be dependent on a variety of things, depending on what type of migration you're doing, where things are going from. and also very heavily based upon what your downtime tolerance is. Folks do not have any downtime tolerance. If you